Hi friends and welcome to the channel. My name is Ryan Abair and this is where I share my insights. And today I'm talking about living for the weekend is dying. And this is the realization that whatever you're doing, if it becomes a means to an end, you're killing yourself. And hard work hardly works at all. If you live for the weekends, stick around and we're going to talk about what it really means to live. Several weeks ago, I was out on a walk with the dog and I met a young man called Charlie. He seemed a little lost and he had an iPad. And being the sucker for a cute face and a lost soul that I am, I approached him. Immediately, he made a connection with me because he had a dog too. And he was a new transplant and we got to talking and he was selling solar panels. Of course, he began to pour out his spiel to me. I kind of figured he was a salesman. It didn't take me long to realize that his heart wasn't in what he was saying. He didn't want to sell me a solar panel. I said, Charlie, what are you really selling? Befuddled, he said, what do you mean? I said, it sounds like you're selling yourself short. What are you passionate about? He said, this is a really good company to work for. They have advancement opportunities. If I invest in the company, and if I play my cards right, I'll retire when I'm in my 30s. And there you have it. The formula for death. Living for the weekend. And this is how your typical person lives. Thank God it's Friday. Because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and all day Friday, I'm going to be a bitch. Because that's hell. And then on Friday, I'm really going to be myself. I'm really going to live it up on Friday and Saturday. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to escape. I'm going to get loaded. After about 4 drinks, you're going to see who I really am. Fun Ryan. Totally uninhibited. On the dance floor, acting like a buffoon. That is until Saturday morning, and reality comes crashing down again. Just like Monday. That's the way we think. We want to be whisked away from reality because reality sucks. So I'm going to quote Jesus again. I'm not a Christian or a religious person. I just think the man was brilliant, and I finally understand what he means. He said the kingdom of heaven is now. The kingdom of heaven was within. It's here. You can't point to it. It's like yeast that's been worked in through the dough. You can't find it. But my take on it is that you can befriend reality. And a person who's dying is rejecting reality. Get me out of here, says the gin and tonic, says the drug, says the weekend. But we have it backwards. We have an addiction to something called the future. And poor Charlie was a victim of this addiction. That one day he would enter the kingdom of heaven, finally be in paradise. While he was waiting, he was going to endure hell Monday through Friday. This young man was in his early 20s. If he was going to retire in his late 30s, he had 20 years to be in hell, living for that moment. That one day that never comes. So, the future is an attempt to whisk us away into either a gloomy nightmare or a euphoric one day. And we have it backwards. To befriend reality is to totally accept the only time it is. You ask reality, what time is it? Reality would say, now. Where am I? Reality would say, here. When your preference is for the time called now, and your preference is for the location called here, welcome to heaven. You've been enraptured. You've been so totally engrossed with the present moment that you've lost all sense of time altogether. You've lost a sense of who you are. You're completely uninhibited, free, naked, and completely invisible. While the rest of the world waits for the rapture. The one day when I have enough. The one day when I lose the 10 pounds. The one day when I do this. And the one day when I can finally be me. You are always yourself. You just have an addiction. You have an addiction to something called the future. And I cannot heal you. This is a 12-step program. To be weaned off of the future must be wiped clean from your being, one drip at a time. Like this. 1, 2, 3. You might have had 3 seconds of not thinking about the future, which includes not thinking about yourself, which includes not thinking about your so-called problems, which includes not pushing to the weekend, but remaining completely focused on this wonderful moment that has evaded you, that you've been whisked away by drugs and alcohol and constant thinking and woe is me. How do you know you're in heaven? You have no other preference to be anywhere. You have no other preference than to be here, and you have no other preference than to be yourself. That's engrossment. That's enrapturing. That's euphoric. That's anticipatory delight. For what? To be completely gone. Disappear into the moment, like Billy Elliot. I just disappear and fly like a bird. I'm making this video on a Thursday at 2:06. Now. Enraptured. Uninhibited. Clean and free. These enrapturing moments have been called all sorts of things. Flow state, nirvana, born again, salvation, enlightenment, awakenment, oneness with the universe. And you must be weaned from the future. You must be weaned from the past. You can't quit cold turkey. The future is too alluring. And if you ever work with somebody, you can't break an addiction cold turkey. Your addiction to the future must be weaned. And I like to make a lot of pauses in my video. Have you noticed that? That's when the medicine goes down. That's when there are gaps in the thoughts. That's when you're wondering, what? That's what's called arsis. There's arsis and thesis. Arsis? That's transcendence. That's you mean I can live with my head in the clouds? You mean I can clear my mind and connect to the creative imagination and build whatever I want, and do whatever I want, and live however I want? Yes. You don't have to wait until the weekend. That's the key. If Friday is better than Monday, we got problems, friend. Because now is all there is. I prefer now. I prefer here. And I prefer to be myself. Rather than being whisked away. When you're drunk, you're an idiot. When you're in heaven, you're an idiot who knows it. And has all of his senses, his faculties, his resources, his mind. And I can drive a car. I'm not impaired. I'm drunk on life. I've befriended reality. I've disassociated with the future, my former God. And I have befriended reality, the one and only truth of who I am, where I am, and what time it is. Me. Here, now. Heaven is now. Join me. In the silence, the medicine goes down. And like an IV drip, it weans you from the future, one gap at a time, until that space remains clear. And from that, the spirit is birthed, and new life is formed. New life in a perpetual heaven. Bliss now. My name is Ryan Hebert. I hope you enjoyed these insights. Please check out my blog, mymorningmotivator.com.